Boys and girls, today we're going to do the last read aloud listening and learning for insects. This one is called Friend or Foe, and it ends with a question mark, so we know what a friend is. If we know what a friend is, do you think we can figure out what a foe would mean? Friend or foe? Some vocab we'll need is entomologist. This is a person who studies insects. Entomologist. Extinction means the dying out of a species until it no longer exists. I think of the extinction of dinosaurs. Pesticides are substances used to destroy insects that threaten the life or health of plants and animals. So people spray pesticides on their plants so that insects don't eat them and kill them. Pollinators are insects that carry pollen from one plant to another, a necessary act for new plant growth. And we know different things that are pollinators, like bees and butterflies, because they can move pollen. And then foe is an enemy or an opponent. All right, friend or foe? Hi, boys and girls. Surprised to see me? I'll bet you were expecting another fabulous insect. Disappointed to see a fellow human being? I've been fascinated with insects ever since I was in second grade, so I wanted to let you know that if you are like me, you might be lucky enough to keep learning about insects your whole life. I am an entomologist, and studying insects is my job. Some people call me the bug lady, but I study much more than bugs. So bug means a small insect that has a beak-like mouth with sucking mouth parts. And the word bug can also mean to annoy someone, like you might bug your brother or sister. When I was your age, I called everything that creeps and crawls or buzzes and flies a bug. Do you do that sometimes too? Lots of people do, but did you know that a bug and an insect are not the same thing? A bug is an insect, but not all insects are bugs. Confusing, isn't it? So not all insects are bugs. Scientists identify true bugs as insects with beak-like mouths. These piercing, sucking mouthparts allow the insect to pierce the leaf or stem of a plant and suck out the plant juices inside. So that's a shield bug, sucking sap from a plant. You can see its beak going down into the plant. Let's look at a few bugs. This is a stink bug. The top left, right there, is a stink bug. This is a bed bug. The one in the middle is a bed bug. Yuck. And tree hoppers and aphids are bugs too. Here's one you should recognize, a cicada. And that one is the one on the top right. Look closely if you see one of these bugs outside, and you may see its long, piercing mouth parts. So you can't really tell from this picture, but they also have long, piercing, beak-like mouth parts. And these are all pretty gross bugs. I think we all know what that one is. This is another familiar insect. What is it called? Right, a ladybug. It's called a bug, but is it? Does it have a beak-like mouthpart with a long piercing tube? No. Fascinating, isn't it? A ladybug isn't a bug at all. So even though it's called a ladybug, it's actually not a bug. I thought you should know about bugs, but the real reason I'm here today is to talk to you about helpful and harmful insects. I'll start with the bad news. You already know that some plant-eating insects cause major crop damage. Leafcutter ants can strip the leaves from an orange grove in one night. A swarm of locusts or large grasshoppers can strip large areas of grasslands in just a few hours. Fruit flies are orchard pests as well. The larvae of many moths, flies, bugs, beetles, and weevils are pests. The Colorado potato beetle is another example of an insect that damages crops. So if all these damage crops, do you think they would be a friend or a foe? So what's the solution? Humans thought that they had a great idea. They created poisonous substances called pesticides that would kill all of the insect pests on the whole field so the crops could grow without being eaten. So that sounds like a good plan, right? They'll just kill all the insects and then the plants will grow without any problems. But there was a problem with that. Do you think the pests were the only animals living in the field? It turns out that the pesticides can be just as big a problem as the pests themselves. These poisons destroy both harmful and helpful insects. Frogs and birds may eat the poisoned insects and become sick too. They may even die. Pesticides have killed pollinators like the honeybee. Without pollinators, plants cannot make seeds to grow new plants or produce fruits. With fewer plants, fewer insects are able to survive. So you see, the human use of pesticides changes the environment for everybody, and not in a good way. Because of this, you can see how a person can be a foe or enemy to insects. So we actually are a foe to insects sometimes. A better solution, and one that is being used by many farmers today, is to keep plant pests under control by introducing their natural enemies, one insect against the other. Ladybugs and lacewings are predators that catch and eat aphids. Wasps and ants eat insects harmful to crops as well. Doesn't it make better sense to use animals to control the growth of pests and weeds instead of poisonous chemicals that kill all living things? I think so. So instead of spraying fields with poisonous chemicals, we just introduce insects that will eat other ones and take care of them. I do have a little bit more bad news for you before I get to the good news. Some insects can be dirty. They can spread germs. When flies, ants, and cockroaches walk across our kitchen countertops with the same feet that they use to crawl through dirt and rotting plants, they can poison our food and make us sick. So that is not something you want to think about, as ants crawling across your counters and tables. Yuck. With dirt and nasty diseases and germs on them. Some insects, such as mosquitoes, fleas, bedbugs, and lice, live off host animals. These types of insects can be very harmful to people. The Anopheles mosquito carries malaria, a deadly disease that has wiped out whole villages in Africa. Hundreds of years ago, fleas that carried deadly bacteria spread the plague, a disease that killed millions of people, or almost 1/3 of Europe. Today, fleas are more irritating than deadly. So fleas don't really have those awful diseases anymore, but they're still pretty annoying. That's enough bad news. Are you ready for some good news? There's a lot of it. You already know how important honeybees and other plant pollinators are to the survival of the planet. Without pollinators, there would be no beautiful flowers or sweet fruit, because the crops would not be pollinated, and crops need to be pollinated in order to grow. Scavenger insects like the dung beetle are important too. By feeding on dead plants and animals and their waste products, scavengers break up dead material and return rich nutrients to the soil. So a host animal. Some mosquitoes live off host animals. You know what host plants are. So a host animal must be something just like a host plant. The insect will live on that animal and feed off of that. Insects are also responsible for many products that humans use. What product does the honeybee give us? Honey. They also give us beeswax, used to make wood polishes and candles, and even lipsticks. So did you guys know that honeybees can actually give you lipstick? And did you know that the spider is not the only creature that spins silk? Many other insects produce silk as well. The silk moth lays its eggs on the leaves of mulberry trees. Their larvae, silk caterpillars, spin cocoons out of a single strand of silk. The silk from their cocoons is gathered and unwound to produce beautiful silk thread used to make cloth. So moths can lay eggs and larvae, and that turns into clothes and cloth. You know that insects are a food source for other insects and animals, but did you know that many people eat insects as well? Lightly salted crickets are eaten as snacks in many parts of Asia. Roasted grasshoppers with chili and lime are popular in Mexico. Roasted termites are part of the regular diet of many Africans. Some Australians feast on beetle larvae, and some Europeans enjoy the sweet crunch of chocolate-covered ants. When I was in 6th grade, instead of taking a test, our teacher let us eat chocolate-covered ants and chocolate-covered mealworms, and we would get 100 on the test. And I did it, and it wasn't as bad as you think. But I wouldn't do it again unless I was going to get another 100 on a test. You know that insects make up the largest group of animals on Earth. Their ability to adapt over time to nearly every environment has made them terrifically successful survivors on the planet. Whereas we think that humans have been around for about 40,000 years, some scientists believe that insects have lived on Earth for about 400 million years. They are the most varied of all animals, coming in all shapes, colors, and sizes. Scientists guess that there are over 1 million species, but it's hard to know for sure because it's impossible to count them all as they crawl, fly, swim, and hide all around the world. Even with all of these millions and billions and trillions of insects, some are in danger of extinction or disappearing from Earth. How can that be? It happens when many insects are killed at the same time. We humans are insects' worst enemies because we often destroy their native habitats. For example, huge areas of the rainforests have been cleared. When trees are cut down for wood, all of the plants are removed, and the insects that live on the plants are destroyed. Insects and other animals that feed on those insects are affected when they can no longer find enough food. Also, people build homes in the desert, the picture on the right there, and not only destroy animal habitats, but also very quickly use up all the water that the desert insects need to survive. The desert doesn't have much water to begin with, but then we take it, and then the insects have none. Grasslands are often cleared for planting crops. When the grassland's host plants disappear, their visiting insects cannot survive. Water is often drained from wetlands to build farms, homes, and roads. When this happens, fertilizers from the farmers' fields often run into the wetlands and encourage plants there to grow out of control. They soak up all the water and the wetland dries up. So from the farms, it causes crops to grow there, and the crops soak up all the water because we know plants need water. Then the insects have none. So why do you think it matters whether insects become extinct? Isn't it good to kill those often pesky, sometimes deadly critters? I don't think so. Think about the honeybee. It may sting you, but a moment's pain is nothing compared to all the benefits it provides by helping to pollinate plants and produce fruits or other foods that you need to survive. We still have a lot to learn about the insect world, but we do know that everything in our world is connected, and that plants and animals depend on one another for survival. We do not want to upset the balance of nature. So next time you get stung by a bee, try to remember they still do a lot of good. They don't just hurt you on purpose. Now that you know how important insects are to our world, I hope that you'll think twice before squashing a bug beneath your feet. I encourage you to use your own schoolyard to look for insects and spiders. Where might you look? Lots of places. Under a rock, in the grass, on bushes and trees, on flowers, and in the soil. Remember, many insects are very good at camouflage, so don't give up. They may be hiding in plain sight. So you guys can go ahead and go outside, see if you can find any insects. Look under rocks, look around your yard, in bushes, wherever you can find it. And then I want you to write about that in your insect journal today. Tell me one that you found outside. If you find a really cool one, you can take a picture and upload that too to show me that you found it. All right? Thanks.